Hello, everybody. My name is Justin. I sometimes read books, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout tag. I came across this by coming across a YouTuber called BellTube, who is a pretty fun guy to watch. But he invited everyone to do this Freakout tag as well, and I think that it sounds like a fun thing to do. There's about 13 questions and you're answering based on what books you've read. So I will go ahead and start. Question number 1. Best book you've read so far this year? Now, I'd say this is a tie because I've read 9 books this year. And I would say it's between Howling Dark and The Way of a Dan. Howling Dark is just a huge step above what uh, Empire Silence was doing, and I think it's really good. There's also The Way of a Dan, which I thought was a surprise hit, a sleeper hit, some would say, and I'm having a really good time with that series. I've only read the first one, but I'd probably am going to say The Way of a Dan by Philip Chase because I had such a good time reading that. His prose was easily accessible, and it was just it hit the spot for me. I read it at the right time. I would not be surprised if it gets taken up by either Dungeon Crawler Carl 4, Demon in White, the second Way of a Dan book. I also plan on reading some Malazan sometime this year, so we'll see where that ends up, but I feel like that sounds like a solid, safe choice. Question number 2. Best sequel you've read so far this year? Well, it certainly wasn't The Dragon's Republic, right? Is that what it's called? The second Poppy War book. Because that one was not it. Spoiler alert. But I'd probably say my favorite sequel book so far is probably either. No, I don't think it's really of a question here. I think it's going to be Howling Dark by Christopher Rocchio. Howling Dark was such a huge improvement upon the first book and how it changed and had a much more structure and more of a built structure to the plot. And I think it was really just a fantastic read. It took me a long time to do it because I'm not smart enough, I feel like, to read it fast. But there's also this video by Joanna Reeds, where she talked about slow reading and reading slowly, and I really resonated with that one. So I really think that we should probably take our time when it comes to reading stuff, start reading stuff out loud, and really trying to comprehend what's going on. I think that has led to the most success of me reading a book. Question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to. So there's been a couple. There has been quite a few on my shelf actually. We're looking at. I mean, as of today, I have the EPUB for the 5th Secret Project by Brandon Sanderson. I also have the Tainted Cup sequel, A Drop of Corruption, I believe. There's also The Devils. There's Grave Empire. There's Blood Over Brighthaven. There's Discovery by J.A.J. Minton, who is another booktuber. The Black Mantle by Andrew Reeds. I want to read that one. That one sounds pretty interesting. But if I were to give it a definitive answer, I'd have to say 2. I couldn't just pick one because I'm equally as hyped for both of these books. And that is both Discovery by J.A.J. Minton and The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I mean, they are just. I've only heard good things about Discovery. I've never read a cosmic horror book. That sounds pretty like a fun leap for me to take. And then I've also heard a lot of ups and downs about The Devils. I have a feeling I'm going to like The Devils. and because I like how Joe Abercrombie writes his characters, and I like I'm not a plot reader. I'm a character reader. I've come to realize, and I feel like that's just gonna hit for me the most. Number 5, the biggest disappointment. Now, my biggest disappointment is the sequel to the Poppy War, which is the sequel to the Poppy War, The Dragon Republic. I was not a fan of. I actually stopped reading it after about 100 pages. I thought, without giving too much spoilers, that the main character was just miserable to follow. So, and I didn't jive with that. And I think me discovering being a character first reader, that it really showed that I did not want any piece of what's going on. I'm sure the resolution would be great in 700 pages, but I cannot. That first 100 pages was a real slog for me. I blew through the first one in like a week, and that's like fast for me. But the second one really just hit me like a truck, and I did not want to read it. So I just ended up DNFing that one. All right, number 6, the biggest surprise. That's an interesting one, because I've only read sequels in series, not many first series in series, but I would say my biggest surprise is Dungeon Crawler Carl 2, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. I really liked the first one. I wouldn't say it hooked me. I thought it was good. I was like, I was willing to read the second one, but I wasn't super invested into it. But when I did read the second one, it hooked me. It got me good. I wasn't the biggest fan of some of the settings. I'm just not into clowns, without giving too much spoilers in that. But I do think that it was a really solid book, and I flew through that book. I think I read like a quarter of it in like an evening, and I was just having the biggest time, the best time doing that, reading that. So I would say my biggest surprise is Dungeon Crawler Carl number 2. All right, number 7, favorite new author. Debut or new to you. So there's a couple ones on this list. Philip Chase, Susanna Clark, John Gwynne, basically, are the 3 new authors I have started reading this year. And I have to say my favorite new author might be Susanna Clark. I've read both Wood at Midwinter and Piranesi. I just finished Piranesi a couple weeks ago, and holy cow, like, the way she writes is just, I feel a connection with the characters, and I feel like there's some sort of poetry that I can understand, because I feel like I struggle with most poetry because I can't understand it. My brain just doesn't work that way, but I really enjoyed Piranesi, and so I'm probably going to go with that. I'm going to go with Susanna Clark as my favorite new author, or new to me. Otherwise, I would choose probably... Philip Chase is also in there too. And he is pretty good. I need to read some more work to really signify him in my top 10. But I feel like Piranesi is in that top standalone slot already. Number 8, newest fictional crush. Now, I'm not one to have fictional crushes, I don't think. But if I was, I would probably... That's a tough one. I don't know. Is it appropriate for me to answer this? I feel so. I feel like it's appropriate. I would say... What is her name? Oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Alright, I figured it out. Her name's Orca from the Bloodsworn trilogy. And not because I think she's attractive. I just think if I don't say her name, she would beat me up if she was real. Or she wouldn't care. She seems as though she would be pretty nonchalant about it. But in secret, she would beat me up. And I don't know if I would like that. TBD. Moving on. Number 9. Newest favorite character. Oh, actually, rewind. Fictional crush. The companion in The Way of a Dan. I also forgot. Imhar from The Way of a Dan, I would say, is my more solid choice. Because he's a hunk. And hunks are cool. I'd like to hang around a hunk. He could crush me. They both could crush me. I'm getting crushed either way. Number 9. Back to number 9. Newest favorite character. That's a tough one. Because I only have a few favorite characters, and I haven't read any this year, if I'm being honest. So it'd probably be either Katya from Dungeon Crawler Carl, or I would say Piranesi himself. Piranesi, reading that book and following this character who is an unreliable narrator, he really made you think about the world differently around you. Like, I even got paranoid. I'm like, what if everyone was... Oh, I can't say that. Anyways, he made me feel these feelings I haven't felt in a while. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you just get out of the movie theater watching like Star Wars, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a Jedi. I have a lightsaber. I'm Jedi. I have a lightsaber. I'm one of these." And you and your friends all like play pretend lightsabers. That's kind of what it felt like reading Piranesi again. It brought a nice nostalgic feel to what it meant to immerse yourself into a story and become one with the story. Number 10. Book that made you cry. I don't think I've ever cried to a book. I have. But it was not this year. It was actually Rhythm of War. And, I didn't really cry. It was more like, that's the most depressed I have felt while reading a book because of what's happening to the characters. Not because I was just depressed from external factors, but because of what's happening to the characters in the book, I felt for them, and I think it really brings a lot to Brandon Sanderson as a writer to make me feel that way, and he really digs into the mind of people who have had those feelings and is able to convey them well. So it's kind of cheating, because I read it last year, but I would say so far it's probably Piranesi. Book that made you happy. I would say The Way of a Dan made me happy. That was just a bundle of joy. Like, yeah, there's bad stuff that happens, but there's so much there's some joy about opening a new story and reading a new book about something you haven't read before and discovering these new things. And that honestly that's all I could ask for. I don't think I'd want anything other than that. Now, this next one has a bit of a contest. Number 12, the most beautiful book you have bought so far this year or received. Now, I've purchased a lot of pretty books. Broken Binding has ruined me. So, I'll let you guys vote. I'll have 3, 4 picks, 5 picks, 6 picks. Alright. I've come with a stack of books. I will go through them one by one, and I'll let you guys decide in the comments. Numero uno. The Way of a Dan by Philip Chase. Broken Binding edition, of course. They will all have plastic wrap, except for one, because protection. But this one, not only is the cover great, it's cloth bound. I don't know if you could see that, but it's cloth bound, and it just feels like such a premium. This is what a special edition of a book should be. It shouldn't be just sprayed edges and slap a different color on the cover and call it good. I'm calling out the Night and the Moth, because that was ridiculous. We also have Blood over Brighthaven. This one is stunning as well. I mean, I got this one in February, maybe. We also got the art on the inside as well. Wow. This is a good one too. So that's up there. Then we got both The Magician by Raymond D. Feist with the end papers. And holy cow, did they do such a good job with these. Oh, okay. And then we quite literally just got the sequel to it, Silverthorn of the Rift War Saga. And Jeff Brown did some amazing work with these. I do have to say so myself. And we got two more. We got The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I am a huge fan of how this looks. But yeah, this is good. And then we have Hyperion, the Broken Binding Edition, which is also a recent pickup this month. This one, I gotta get the new cover on. The old cover looks super good too, but this new cover is just just so artistic and so imaginative. I hope you can see that well. I can't tell. If anything, I'll put up a display of the art. It also came with a bookmark, which is super sick. But these are all competing for top dog. But yeah, that's the most beautiful books I've gotten this year. Question number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have goals, and I have obtainable goals. We'll start with the almost unobtainable goals. I would say by the end of the year, I want to be done with the Sun Eater series. I want to read it when it comes out. The new one, I want to be caught up, and I want to hit that running. Another goal is the Empire of the Dawn, which is the third in the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. Awesome trilogy name, by the way. That's super cool. I'm glad we named the trilogy after the first book, and that's it. And then there's also a few other goals I want. I want to read at least the first Mount Malazan book by the end of the year. I also want to read a Game of Thrones book. A Song of Ice and Fire book this year. And there was also, I want to read Ascendant by Michael R. Miller. Those ones all are on the within the next while TBR, and I hope that within the next while is sooner than not. So we will see. But that is the conclusion of the mid-year Freakout Tagout. I need to read more books. I need some more flavor, more variety. Maybe next time I'll have like 28 books read, and it'll just be a bloodbath of more Susanna Clark and Christopher Rocchio and Philip Chase. But we will see. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to participate, I believe I got it off of BellTube, who got it off of Murphy Napier, so tag one of them. The BellTube, I think he needs more credit than he gets, and I really wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much for watching.